So thank you, gentlemen, for joining us today. And I'm going to start with you first. And if you could take me through some background of Exponent Energy, how it started.
Yeah, so we started Exponent in 2020. At that time, EVs had just become mainstream with respect to how you drive them, but it still hadn't become something that you would probably use on a daily basis, right? And that was mainly because while you would drive it, you would never own it as your primary vehicle. You'd only ever use it as a secondary vehicle because you always suffered from range anxiety. So what we've kind of done is address the question of saying, hey, if you have to actually adopt electric vehicles for an everyday use, how do you solve that problem? How do you make it such that energy, which is a thing that you interact with on a daily basis, becomes easy to use, becomes simple, becomes basically like all the things that you enjoy with refueling, right? When you refuel, what you do is you drive till it's red, you go to a fuel station, you fill fuel in, and then you're on your way. So we've recreated that with electric vehicles. Basically, if a vehicle uses our technology and comes to our charging station, it can charge completely from 0 to 100 in 15 minutes. So you start driving it like an electric vehicle. You drive it till it's red. You know that you're coming to a charging station which works, charge it up, and you're on your way.
So, Rahul, will you take us through the journey of Zip Electric, how it started?
Yeah, so I'm Rahul Yadav from Zip Electric. Today I'm representing our CEO Akash Gupta from Zip Electric. So it started with his vision in 2017 for zero emission in orders delivery for the last mile. So we are right now the largest fleet. We have around 25,000 strong EV fleet running for multiple clients across India. Zepto, Zomato, Swiggy, whatever you call it, quick commerce, e-commerce, they are our partners, B2B partners. We have enabled each one of our team, like we have around 1,500 strong team that is working on ground from the office. And we have enabled each one of our team via the tech. And also all the processes are driven by AI. We are also contributing to the SaaS so that other EV players can also use our technology and softwares, our in-house build softwares, as we are the first mover in the space. And they can also lead this EV revolution in India. This is what our journey has been like.
Sure. So when we talk about EV adoption in India, do you see tier 2, tier 3 towns taking up more, in terms of the kind of adoption we have seen of EV in India?
Yeah, so EV adoption is a bit tricky in India. So the thing is, there has to be charging stations. And then if there are charging stations, then there has to be EVs. So there is a circle in that. So EV adoption was slow in the start when we started in 2017, but now it is growing. Like our company itself has 25,000 two-wheeler fleet plus 1,000 three-wheeler loaders as well. So we have like 26,000 fleet. Like maybe this number looks small to you, but it is a very big number. We have like 25 hubs across India, in Bangalore, in Gurgaon, Delhi, Noida, even in Hyderabad and Mumbai. So managing all of this and these much of riders, clients, employees, it was all has to be achieved via the process which are run on tech. We have our very rigid processes which take care of the rider as a customer as well, and each part of our EV is being tested, like the motor, controller, dock, whatever is there in EV, that has to be tested by the AI driven solutions so that we can reduce our ETA for a RFD of a vehicle, and it can be allotted to a rider with minimum possible time. We have around 1,000 allotment on daily basis in our across our hubs, and we are around in a month we are delivering around 2 millions of orders.
Okay, interesting. How about you? Have you seen the adoption of EV as compared to metros? Is it better in tier 2, tier 3?
More than just what we have seen, I think the journey of adoption for EVs, tier 2, tier 3 have ended up being actually a huge boon, right? Take any of the three big players with two-wheelers, right? Be it Ather, be it Ola, be it Bajaj.
Yeah.
What's happened is, despite the fact that the price point of an electric vehicle is 20 to 30% more than a conventional IC engine vehicle, the moment they made it available in tier 2, tier 3 towns, and they positioned it as an aspirational vehicle, sales there have been huge. In fact, most of these guys sell almost as much in some of the smaller towns as they've sold in larger metros. I think what also happens is, in larger metros, there is a plethora of choice. So you're always able to switch between, whereas giving access to products like this, which are essentially far more than just a Hero Splendor or a TBS 5-star or those kind of old school products, to a market that has money to spend, it just sets the ball rolling there. The second side of it is, like what he mentioned, charging is a key factor, right? At the end of the day, a tier 2 or a tier 3 town is small, which means point to point or longer travel that you need to do. You can always rely on home charging. You don't really need to set up public charging networks. Whereas a city like Bangalore or a city like Delhi, if you do more than 60 kilometers, you have to have a public charging system. And that kind of removes one more barrier for adoption in tier 2, tier 3.
Okay. So any specific barriers which you are facing in the Indian market which you want to highlight?
As per me, as we are growing, we have grown like 10x per year. So the adoption is very huge. The cost of delivering a order has been reduced like 1/10, as you can deliver on a scooter. So there is a very significant adoption by all the riders, be it a bike taxi like Rapido, Uber, or be it a Zomato or Zepto, or a quick commerce, or even a e-commerce. So adoption is very good in India, especially where we have price sensitive markets. So barrier is, the ecosystem can be a barrier, like as many as people will contribute to the ecosystem of EV, bigger players will also come in, then there will be a better ecosystem, which we are actually trying. Like person sitting next to me is also contributing for the same. So if we all will contribute, all entrepreneurs will contribute, so this EV ecosystem will even be better, and there will be a situation where there will be no need for a petrol-driven vehicle to deliver a order, or even for transportation for like Rapido and Porter.
Okay. Okay. So any barriers you want to highlight?
Yeah, so if you look at it, one of the main reasons why people say, hey, we should adopt electric is because it's cheaper, right? But the reality is today, you don't pay tax on fuel, right? When you buy a liter of diesel at 86 or a liter of petrol at 100, it's that. There's no additional GST or any of those taxes. Whereas if you look at electric vehicles, unless you charge at home, you have to pay an 18% GST on not just the cost of any additional service of charging, but also on the power that you consume, which is making public charging very expensive. In fact, if you look at city like Ahmedabad, in Ahmedabad, CNG prices are so low, and the cost of power after adding tax is so high, it's actually cheaper to run a CNG, which doesn't sound right? And I think that's one of the big things that needs to be picked up. We're still running on an archaic GST law, like the provision of GST for electric vehicle charging, which was set way back in 2014. And that is still running today, which is a huge hindrance. Like a user, an individual person who owns an electric vehicle doesn't have a GST registration, they're not going to get input tax credit on the GST that they pay there. So every additional rupee that they spend is straight out of their bottom line, which means why would they want to pay 20% more for charging when they could just use petrol and keep going?
So going forward, how do you see the future of EV? Is it going to be that much electric the way we plan it to be? Do you think government support is required?
Yeah, future is obviously electric. You can see the developed market across Asia only. You can go to Taiwan, you can go to China. They are all electric, and their population is as far as us. So they have adopted EV, and I think in India as well, when there will be a good ecosystem across India, there will be swappable service stations, charging stations available across the geography, then this EV boom will actually come in India as well.
The future of electric vehicles.
I think you need to build for India, right? The biggest challenge that comes is everyone's talking, like you would have seen in the news that Tesla is coming to India, right? And everyone thinks they like a Tesla car or those kind of products are going to be the future of mobility or future of electric mobility in India. But the reality is that's not how it works. A Tesla car in the US, which would probably be the same cost in India, is roughly around $30,000 to $40,000 for the entry model. $40,000 is like 40 lakh plus, right? After import duties, etc., all of that. Nobody in India can afford a 40 lakh, very few people rather, can afford a 40 lakh car. In India, a Maruti Suzuki Swift Dzire goes for 6 lakh, which means you need to build products like that. If you want electric mobility to happen in India, you need to build for the cost structures, the road structures and the infrastructure that exists in India, not bring in a product from outside. And the future is that. The future is solutions which are tailored for the kind of economic climate that India is in. India can only afford so much on a vehicle. India can only afford this kind of a grid. A product that works there is what makes sense.
So due to paucity of time, we will have to conclude the session here. And thank you so much, gentlemen. And the way both of you have been working towards making the future electric, it's commendable. A huge round of applause for our panelists.